Hello, I'm Kaylee and welcome to Blue Geranium Books. So today I am here to do Top 5 Wednesday. I will leave a link to the Goodreads group down in the comments below where you can find out all about it. This week's theme was gift wrapped, and it was a very loose theme, so what I decided to do is 5 books that I recommend to give as gifts. So if you're looking for books to give to people, here are some of the books that I recommend. So first up is a speculative take on a classic mystery series, and that is the Warlock Holmes series, starting with A Study in Brimstone by G.S. Deddings. So this is basically a study in Scarlet, only it has a very different take, with Sherlock being a warlock and Dr. Watson being a different kind of take on Dr. Watson, and this was just such a fun, funny, intriguing tale that I absolutely enjoyed reading. And there were kind of like hints of, I don't want to say Howl's Moving Castle exactly, but there were a little bits about it that kind of reminded me of other things, and I just loved the entire experience of reading it. And if you are a Sherlock fan and like to read these kind of alternative, speculative takes, I definitely recommend checking out A Study in Brimstone, and if you have a person like that in your life, I definitely recommend it as a gift. Next up is a graphic novel, and that is Emma by Karu More, and this is set in the Victorian era, and it is about a maid named Emma who meets a gentleman's son, and the whole story really goes from there. It's absolutely stunning, and the illustrations are just beautiful, and if you like Victorian literature and graphic novels and sweet romance stories, you should definitely pick this series up. There was actually an anime of it a few years back, and it did a really good job, I feel, and these novels are just wonderful. So if you're looking for something sweet and perfect for maybe a fan of Jane Austen or other Victorian literature, but they're wanting to expand their reading, you might give Emma a shot as a gift because it's stunning and wonderful, and anybody that loves kind of the Regency and Victorian era literature should definitely give this a shot. It's perfect. So the third book on the list that I'd like to mention today is The Unlikely Escape of Uriah Heap by H.G. Perry. This is a novel set in contemporary times, and the protagonist is a lawyer who gets a phone call from his younger brother Charlie in the night saying that he needs help. And what happens from there is that you discover Charlie has a secret power that the family has been hiding for all of these years, which is that he can read characters and things out of books. And one night he accidentally unleashes Uriah Heap. This book was so beautifully written, and it was so well paced that I just devoured the entire thing. It had all of my favorite things: homages to classic literature, a wonderful setting, great characters, and quite possibly most importantly, a beautiful take on a sibling relationship. It's a complicated take, it's not always pretty, but it was just so wonderful. I loved it. And the next book I'm going to talk about has a sibling relationship as well. I am a sibling, I have 2 sisters, and there's just something about stories that kind of delve into the relationship between siblings that just really resonates with me. This book was one of my absolute favorite reads, and I just adored everything about it, and I will give pretty much everything H.G. Perry writes from here on out a shot. This was her debut, and I do have a copy of her next novel that came out this year that I need to get to very soon. But yes, if you have a classic literature fan or a person that likes a good relationship between siblings, or just somebody that loves a fun, interesting, unique story, this book is for them. I would recommend this to almost anyone because it's just so amazing and well done. The next is definitely got a life of its own and definitely a fan base, but there are a lot of people out there who've only seen the movie and never read the book, and I think that that is a crying shame, and that is Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. I first knew of Practical Magic as the movie featuring Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman, and I loved that movie growing up. It was just one of those movies that I watched so many times that I can quote the entire thing. When I got older, I realized it was based on a book, and I read the book, and I want to put this out there. The book is very, very different from the movie, but there is something absolutely magical about this story, no matter what form it takes. Alice Hoffman is a well-respected writer. She is amazingly talented. Her prose is beautiful and complicated, but not too complicated to read. There's just a lot of subtext in what she writes, and it is absolutely 100% beautiful. And then, last but by no means least, was my absolute favorite read of 2019, and that is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. This book, the second I finished it, I wanted to start it all over again and just completely be swallowed up in this story. This is a book about it's a portal fantasy novel about a character who is able to find the doors between the worlds. Only she doesn't fully understand her gifts, and she doesn't fully understand what's going on, and as she reads this story from a journal, she discovers secrets that lead back to her past. The lyricism of the prose in this novel is absolutely stunning. I loved the pacing. It's set in the early 1900s, and the character is of mixed heritage, which leads her to being something of an oddity and more of a collectible than an actual person in this society. And it deals with that. It deals with being a person out of place. It deals with being a person out of time. And Harrow's work was just absolutely beautiful and fascinating and stunning to read. I just kept reading and reading and reading. I've also listened to the audiobook, and it's perfectly narrated by a lovely woman named January as well, which I loved that little nod. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful read for anybody who loves books or stories or portal fantasies. The idea of discovering Narnia in the back of your wardrobe. This book is a grown-up version of that ideal. So there you have it. There are my 5 books that I recommend to give as gifts, either to other people or to yourself, because there is nothing better than getting a book, and I fully endorse all 5 of these books. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you would like to keep up with my content, and until next time.